Greetings and salutations. Please allow me to welcome you to Masterpiece Theater. I'm your host, Obba Babatunde, and here on Masterpiece Theater, we celebrate the very best in the spoken word, the written word, and the word expressed in song. In addition, we pay tribute to the talented artists that bring those words to life. Each week here on Masterpiece Theater, I have the pleasure of engaging brilliant artists in one-on-one conversation that explores the great treasures and these writers and actors and singers and dancers possess as we spotlight their artistry that illuminates us all. So I say, a very warm welcome. And welcome, Obba Babatunde here, and thrilled and a pleasure that the fact that you have taken the time to come back and join us here on Masterpiece Theater. I must tell you, today I am humbled beyond words. I have in studio with me, they happen to be my friends. I'm thrilled that they're my friends, but above and beyond the fact that they're my friends, they are gentlemen who are of a caliber that words fail me to describe them in full description that would give honor and glory to who they are. They are men who represent a standard of excellence in all that they do. They're also the funniest guys I've had a chance to be around.
I don't know.
We have known one another for many years. Some of us go back over 35 years in our friendship.
Ooh, man, before gray hair.
And so I'm going to give you an opportunity to say hello to these icons. First of all, and I do mean that they are iconic, and I'll explain to you what I mean by that in a little while in the show. Please say hello to a dear friend of mine. His name is Stephen Williams. Yeah. And
Encore.
Stephen, my brother, I am thrilled that you are here, sir. Thank you so much for taking the time. These guys are extremely busy, so the fact that I've been trying to get them here and
Stephen,
get
wake
them
up,
all,
wake up.
all at one time. But Stephen, welcome, brother. Thanks for being here.
I'm still trying to figure out who was that doing the announcement when they first came.
Hello and welcome to.
Man, Obba got low, didn't he, man? He went Frankie Crocker, BLS on us, man.
Frankie Crocker, no, you didn't.
He went back to WWRL. He went back hard. Hank Spann.
While I'm saying hello, that voice that you just heard is the voice of Lawrence Hilton Jacobs.
Oh, man.
Who's talking about me sounding like Frankie Crocker. There's Lawrence Hilton Jacobs.
That's one of our buddies.
Yes,
the drill.
Yes,
man.
Indeed. Hey, Jakes, thanks so much for being here, brother.
Absolutely,
my
man.
pleasure.
He's trying to bring an edge of sophistication and class to you.
Let me speak more like this.
Will you let him do that? Will you let him? I know you're not used to.
Yes,
you're
I
not used to
understand.
being in that pool, but this is from which he comes. And would you let him share that? Go ahead, Obba.
Thank you so much. And the person that you just heard is the great Glynn Turman.
Ibby winner.
I thought he was Yaphet Kotto, man. He got me mixed up, man. Now I know who it is. Wait a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we're going to have a spectacular time today in these shows. You know, I could start to go through many of my friends' credits, but let me just share this with you, if I may. When I went to begin to look up many of the things that they've done, the amount of time that it would take to read all of their credits, it would not be enough time to experience the show. And but I will say this, Stephen Williams, there's a difference between having a job and having a career. These gentlemen have careers, and it's also a difference in the standard that you present in that career, and theirs is stellar. Stephen has at least 100, now this is listed, 111 acting credits. Those are the ones that are listing, 111, okay? Now you just think about the fact that how long it would take in the industry to create 111 acting opportunities by which are just credited, meaning that they are union jobs, paying jobs, and those that are and all of those to become iconic in their own nature.
Those are the ones that the IRS know about.
And I'm still broke. I don't understand.
Well, it's a figment of imagination.
Get it.
We're going to talk about that because that's an interesting concept of when somebody has had 111 jobs and yet they still go in and they audition and they. But let me just tell you a little bit. It says was nominated in 1977 for Joseph Jefferson's Award for actor in a principal role in the musical for Joplin at the St. Nicholas Theater Company in Chicago, Illinois. You see, my man hails from Chi-Town.
Chi-Town.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Stevie Will.
That toddling town.
Yes.
My kind of town.
We're taking this on the road.
Yeah, we're going to take this show on the road. Three Musketeers, Breath, Cold Case, The Fear Chamber, Desperate Housewives, Kings of the Evening, which he also is in with the great Glynn Turman, Adventures of Power, Richard III, Criminal Minds, Forfeit, Special Ops, Halfway Decent, Walker, Texas Ranger, Crimson Forest, Grave, Monk, Sexual Life.
Gonna read all of them, huh?
I'm not going to read them all. Because I'm telling you, we would be here until tomorrow. But there are certain roles that he has actually branded and become iconic for. The X-Files, as well as Links, which I had an opportunity and pleasure of being able to share with him and doing an episode of Links. And thank you, Tim Reed. Yes, we salute Tim Reed. But Stephen, a great iconic figure. Lawrence Hilton Jacobs.
Yes. I'm here. Yes, I didn't do it.
Acting.
Okay.
Now, here's what people don't realize. Actor, writer, director, producer, composer, and singer. Now, a lot of people will talk about the fact, they say, well, they have these hyphens that they put on their things, but they don't actually really have a career in doing these things. These are things that they aspire to do. This is a gentleman who didn't just aspire to do these things, but he actually has done them. We all obviously know all of his work but let's talk about iconic stuff. Roots. Okay?
Yeah.
All right? Claudine.
Yeah.
All right? Okay? The list we'll get into, but I'm just dropping a couple of things. Directors. He's a real director. He's not just somebody that, L.A. Heat, the TV series.
Yeah, that was
directed Steve.
He directed me.
Oh, he directed Steve in that. Did you direct Steve in that?
Yes, he directed me and wrote, produced, and recorded me a song in that show. I sang in that show.
That's right.
And Lawrence wrote the song overnight. Went home overnight, wrote it.
But they forgot that he put the Uzi to my head. Remember that part? Yeah.
Okay. Angels of the City.
Hell of an artist.
Yeah.
Angels of the City. Right? So we're identifying, and when we talk about a composer, Lawrence composed music, as now as Stephen just made mention of, for television series. Several pieces of the music that you hear in these series that whether he was on the series or not, this is a real composer. It's not just a gentleman who's toying with the idea. You see, this is the difference. It's not just the acting. As I said, over 150 acting credits listed. He branded characters like Joe Jackson in the Jackson Story, right? You know what I mean? These men, iconic in their own right, play icons as well. You see, but they don't just do that. They do everything that they do with a standard of excellence. Now, the great Glynn Turman. Now watch this. Glynn Turman just listed, in terms of acting credits, 309 acting credits. That's listed, okay? Also a writer, also a director, and a musician. From time to time, I gotten together with GT, as I affectionately refer to him, and GT pulls out that saxophone, and y'all better watch out.
Wait a minute, you play sax? I
Yes,
you play harp. You
he plays
on me, brother.
Exactly. Plays saxophone and
You're
harmonica.
holding out on us, man.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yes, indeed. And we share
Get
also.
tight, I go to the subway. I put down my.
Hey, man, you got to get paid. It's about getting paid, ain't it?
Hey.
I ain't mad at you.
Lawrence and GT and myself hail from the New York City. So when GT talks about the subway, he's talking about New York City.
That's all of us.
But listen, what they all share in common, and one of the things we're going to talk about today
we're hungry.
is an iconic feature film called Cooley High.
Oh yeah.
Let's take a little peek at the trailer from Cooley High.
It was the best of times. They were the best of friends. They made the best of memories.
Why don't you go somewhere?
Your place of mine.
Those cool days. Cooley High.
Does that bring back some memories?
You go right back to the day, don't you?
I mean to tell you.
Check this out, gentlemen. It's something I want to say here. We were talking, I don't know who I was talking to the other night. We were talking about my friends in L.A., and it came to me that even though I don't see these cats a lot, during the course of a year, that these are my two oldest friends in Los Angeles. I met these guys doing Cooley High. You cats I've known longer than anybody else I know in Los Angeles.
And I'm tired of knowing you too, personally. You had enough.
Well, it speaks to.
So that's very special to me.
It speaks to the film. We really did bond on that film.
Yeah.
And it's been
a
groove. It's been a groove.
Not to cut, Glynn, but I mean, I said this a couple times around Glynn, and it applies to Steve too. One of the greatest things of doing Cooley High, of course, is the experience of doing the movie. But I got lifelong friends out of these brothers, man, and it's for real.
Yeah,
exactly.
As of course with you, Obba.
Well, thank you. Well, listen, let's just talk about Cooley High a little bit. We're going to be dealing with it because, as we say, that's one of the things. We'll go into the individual things that you each have branded. But let's talk about Cooley High because I identify it as a classic. So to be involved in the classic, and I want to talk about the fact that what that experience was like. Just if you could give individually, the first day on set, we had the director, the great Michael Schultz, directing, and a cast of brilliant actors, and it was prior to these kinds of films being done, and really set the pace and the opened the door for other types of film that were predominantly black cast. But the difference being it was the first. Right?
I'm going to let him speak first because he's 5 years older than me. That's
I see. Okay. All right, so go ahead. Somebody just jump in and tell me what that experience on that first day of when you're coming into a feature film, because a lot of people listening, they have no idea what it is like on the first day of a set when you're coming in. It's like the first day of school in its own way.
Well, you have to understand the workings of film. For most of films, if you're not in the scene with someone, you don't ever get a chance to see or work with them unless it's in passing as they're going home and you're coming to work.
Correct.
So that being such a large cast, a lot of us didn't have a chance to see one another, except for in some cases during a film there will be what they call a table read.
Yes.
And that's, I think, what we first did.
Yeah, we had it in the suite, in the hotel.
In the hotel room, we had a suite, a table read, which involved all of the cast so we could finally hear the whole script at one time. And that's where we first heard and knew what we were a part of as a whole.
Now, let me ask this then. And any of you, these questions, they apply to each of you, so you can answer them at your will from your experience. When you were at that table read, did you realize how special this situation was?
Well,
I didn't have the foggiest idea.
No, you can't.
Exactly.
Exactly. You can never know. You can never know. I don't think in any project what that project's going to eventually end up to be. It's I had a kind of a unique experience with Cooley High because I was a little bit of a rebel in Chicago and a model. And when they were auditioning for Cooley High, I walked into my modeling agency, and every brother and sister in town was there, and they shot it in Chicago, and of course I'm from there. Every brother and sister in town was there, and I went, what's going on? They said, they're casting a movie. And I went, so why didn't I get a call? Every brother and sister in town was there. And I was told by my modeling agency, which I wasn't getting along with at the time, well, there's nothing in it for you, Stephen. It's all younger people, because I started in this business a little bit late. I was 27 when I started modeling, and that's late. There's nothing in it for you. What the hell you mean there's nothing in it for? Every brother and sister in town
Everybody,
is here.
their grandmother's up here. Yeah.
Luckily, there was a young lady, and it would be great if she were listening right now. Roberta Williams, she was.
She was great. Yeah.
She got me in to see, the casting people and the directing, blah, blah, blah. And I ended up with the role of Jimmy Lee. And I promptly left that agency right after that.
you know something? And we talk about the first time a meeting or how you don't really know a film's going to be what it's going to be. You can only hope, or you put your flavor in. And as Glynn said, you get the table reading, and the table readings or the readings to me of things like that is really a chance to create almost kinship because you get to see each other and so forth. But my feeling with Glynn is, and I remember these dates, don't ask me why, it was October 14th on a Tuesday. Why am I remembering that? 1975.
Really?
Pay attention to the stuff you
Yeah,
remember.
man, the mind still works.
I'll play that number.
Yeah. And that's when I met you. I came downstairs into the office suite where there was, and Michael Schultz introduced me to you, Glynn. And I remember Glynn had this real bright smile and, how you doing, brother? And that kind of thing. And I said, I don't like him at all. No, I knew he was going to work. that was the feeling that I knew we had a chance.
But credit to Michael to have that table read, because the great thing about Cooley is it was about a community,
yes,
a neighborhood,
yes,
and something that at that time films were not showing us as a part of or having, relationships with people in the neighborhood. They were either all bad or all
and
something.
Dealing with
all,
it.
Well, it's sort of based on a little bit of truth.
Well,
it's a true story.
It's of course the great Eric Monte's true story, but that table read was a chance for us all to create that community. And go from there.
A lot of the actors outside of Steve or Glynn or myself or Garrett Morris, our brother, and stuff like, most of the people had never done films. They were brand new people who came to, they were just brilliant, but and they came to, and when we sat around and did those readings, I remember Norman, who unfortunately is not with us, and he played Robin in the movie. He was just very natural, and and he was very into it, and he was very personable, and he just kind of helped, just being himself, man. So we got lucky,
Well,
sometimes it happens.
I think that that speaks to something. See, no one sets out to be a hero. They set out to do the very best that they can do, what it is that they do. I don't think that Dr. Martin Luther King or Malcolm X decided that we're going to be legendary in what we do. No, of course not. Yeah. They set out to take into hand something that they saw that needed to be dealt with, and dealt with it to the best of their ability. Life is what happens while we're making plans. And so we're going to come right back, and we're going to stay with us. We're going to come back, and we're going to take a little commercial break, and then we're going to come back, and I want to share some stuff with you that I think you're going to find very exciting. We'll be right back.
Hey, are you tired of those same old energy drinks with bad taste? Make a switch to Pitbull Energy Drink with a guaranteed no aftertaste. Pitbull offers more energy with ginseng and vitamins B6 and B12. With a ginger ale lemon lime flavor, Pitbull meets the consumer's demand for better tasting and healthier energy products with a guaranteed no aftertaste. Make a switch to Pitbull Energy Drink. Pitbull offers more energy with ginseng and vitamins B6 and B12. With a ginger ale lemon lime flavor, Pitbull meets the consumer's demand for better tasting and healthier energy products. For more information on Pitbull energy drinks, bars, and mixes, visit their website at hiphopbev.com. That's hiphopbev.com. Online orders available at hiphopbev.com. That's hiphopbev.com. Online orders available at hiphopbev.com. That's hiphopbev.com. Online orders available at hiphopbev.com. That's hiphop.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh outweigh the bad. I thought we'd get to see forever, but forever has flown away. It's so hard
Yes, 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 yes. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday by Boys to Men was written specifically for this film, Cooley High. Now,
and sung by
G.C. Cameron.
G.C. Cameron.
Formerly of the Spinners.
Exactly. Now, gentlemen, that scene, GT, whenever anybody sees this moment, because they fell in love with the friendship that had existed between Preach and Cochise, and we identify that Cochise's life is taken. And I'm going to play the scene, because then I want to talk about it just a little bit, because there's some brilliant, absolutely stunning things that go on in that scene that even as I watch it, it rips my heart out. And anybody seeing this is to you, the gentleman's credit, and to the way it was directed and shot, absolutely makes what filmmaking really should be about. Let's take a look.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh outweighed the bad. I thought we'd get so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
There you have it. Now, for those of you who are acting aficionados or have any desire to be an actor, here is a man who doesn't speak one verbal word, but tells an entire story of the history of that friendship. That is the brilliance of a true artist, not just an actor, but an artist. Gentlemen, I've got a surprise for you.
Uh-oh.
Caller, are you on the line? Caller, are you still there?
Surprise!
Is he still there?
I heard somebody say something. Wait a minute.
Hello? Hello? Are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear me, caller, caller, caller?
Caller.
All right, we're gonna check back. I'm not gonna tell you who it is. We got a surprise for you though. It's coming up. So, caller, if you could please ring us back so that we can get you on air. That scene, Glynn.
Yeah.
As you heard me just tell the audience about the ability to take that moment, and the way that it was shot, because we've all been in those experiences where we are attending a passing of a loved one, and people also, as you mentioned about filmmaking, they don't understand how challenging it is because you shoot things several times, but you never got caught acting, sir.
Thank you.
You never got caught acting.
Thank you very much.
You know what I mean?
So true. So true.
And it speaks to the fact of exactly the way that relationship between you and Lawrence, those two characters, we saw it in the earlier scenes. The friendship, the love, the frivolity, that when y'all were riding on the back of that bus, right? Now, we know about that because we come out of New York. We knew about really riding on the back of that bus.
For real.
Right? All right. So we understand. Did the caller call back yet? We have him on the line? All right. Caller, can you hear me?
You got him on the line.
Gentlemen, the great Michael Schultz, the director.
Mikey! Mike in the hills.
Recognize that voice right away.
Michael said, I'm going to get a piece of this.
Good afternoon.
What's up, Mike?
Afternoon.
Hello, gentlemen. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Michael.
And the family. Yeah.
That's our fearless leader.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for taking the time to call in. This is a special, special day and time where we are with these three gentlemen, and now we have the director. Michael, please, if you would, can you share with me and the listening audience the concept and how you came to be involved with the film Cooley High?
Well, I had done another small film in Atlanta in the year of that film. Put my name in the hat with the producer, saying, "You really need to talk to this guy," And the producer was Steve Krantz.
Okay.
And he and Eric Monti, who was the writer, and basically the story of his life is the film. Eric Monti were at a dinner party, and they were trading stories about growing up poor. And Eric Monti telling stories of growing up as a poor black kid in Chicago, and Steve Krantz telling stories about growing up as a poor Jewish kid in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric Monti's stories were so funny that Steve said, "Look, come into my studio and just tell a few of those stories." And he got 20 minutes worth of Eric's stories and went to AIP, American International Pictures, who used to make movies like Hell Up in Harlem, Baby, and got the movie into development.
Right.
Well, they had a script, but it really wasn't a movie because Eric didn't really know how to write for a film. He was a great storyteller. But they sent me the script, and I said, this reminds me of how I grew up. And I was in Milwaukee, a night away from Chicago. And I said, look, when I come out to L.A., let me meet Eric Monti and tell you if I can make a movie out of this.
Mm-hmm.
So
Did good.
I convinced Eric to, because he really didn't have the kind of discipline of a writer.
Yes.
I said, just give me 8 hours a day. We'll bring in a stenographer, and you just tell stories.
Wow.
And I'll stories, and then I'll go look at it, and we'll pick out the best ones and put it together. And That's how it
was born.
That's how it was born.
Well, listen, for those of you who may have been somehow asleep for the last 30 or 40 years, if you've been around that long, and may not realize who the great Michael Schultz is, let me just share with you that in terms of directorial credits, this is directorial credits that are listed. There are 163 directorial credits. Do you know how many projects you would have to be involved in, and what that journey is to produce, to be the director at the helm of 163 features and televisions.
You got to have a lot of aspirin around.
I mean, we're talking like movies like Car Wash, The Last Dragon, of course, Cooley High, Crush Groove, Which Way Is Up. Now, the reason I mention those particular movies is because they helped to define a particular and demark an era in filmmaking that represents blacks in films and blacks in black lifestyle that is a truer depiction than had previously been given of us. And even in some cases, gentlemen, I think you'll agree that since has not been able to be matched.
Has not peaked. Yeah.
You know? So, Michael, we salute you. We salute you in the work that you do and you continue to do. And we thank you. You know, because you've given us classic after classic after classic. And, you know, that speaks to who you are as well, not just what you do. Because you often have heard me say, some of you, that your do is not necessarily your who.
That's a nice way to do it.
Well, thank you. It's very flattering. But I would not have been able to make those kind of films without the prodigious talent of guys like Glynn and Larry, you know, and
Stephen.
like
Yeah.
it's a reason.
It's on the tip of my tongue. Stephen Williams. Okay, that guy. you play Willie Lee, right? No, Jimmy Lee. Okay.
Well, Michael's out of town, ladies and gentlemen, and I thought it would be a great surprise. And
It's been a wonderful surprise. Now, I'm still savoring our last meeting. Michael, when did you direct me in last? This is Stephen. I'm in Vancouver.
Traffic.
No, in Vancouver. He directed me in something in Vancouver. We had dinner together afterwards.
He's forgotten that too.
I don't remember.
I don't remember the project. It had to be like a Supernatural or X-Files or...
We all been around too long when you can't
one of
remember.
those, yeah. Anyway.
Exactly. We all blend into one.
It was always a joy.
Yep.
Well, the fact of the matter is that I was able to reach out to Michael today, and he was in the midst of his busy schedule. He's not in town. He was kind enough to be able to say, "Obba, yes, I look forward to."
Thanks,
That's great.
Thank you, Michael.
And Michael, I know you're busy. Thank you so much. If you have any closing words, please share it with the guys, and we certainly appreciate and continue to salute you, my friend.
Yeah, indeed.
Well,
indeed.
the closing words that I have is, you know, when we made that film, I said, you know, Turman gave an Academy Award-winning performance.
Absolutely.
The song is So Hard to Say Goodbye is an Academy Award-winning song, and we couldn't get to first base with the Academy then because they just would not acknowledge the artistic contribution of what we were doing.
Yeah, we still live in America. We are still black folks in America.
Over-rehearsed.
Exactly. So, but Glynn knocking it out of the park, and Larry has done some sensational stuff. So, guys, keep going. I love you, and hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, and tell Gloria what's up, man. Say hi to Gloria.
Yeah, say hi to
Your
Gloria
lips are some
and the guys.
producers' ears.
Mike's kids. Remember little
Tommy.
Little Tommy. That was
Brandon.
Little Tommy is Brandon.
That's
Tommy
Michael's
played
son.
Michael. It was Michael's son in the movie, and played.
Who's a grown man now with his own kids.
Right. Played your brother, little brother.
Little Brandon.
And threw your scholarship in the toilet.
Oh yeah, man. You know. Was that
He's a filmmaker now, I think.
Oh yeah. He's an animator. Yeah,
Is that what it is? Animates? Yeah.
Well, the thing is that, you know, I think that's one of the things, Michael, that's a perfect segue, that we could not get any attention from the Academy. And then that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about today. You're welcome to say it and hang in there as long as you can. I know you're busy and you're working, but we're going to talk about that a little bit, gentlemen. In terms of, here we have these classic movies, these movies that have really set the tone for other movies to be made about blacks in America. And yet we're still dealing with the struggle of why it is that black directors, black writers, having the history that we have, the rich history, why is it that do you think, that we're not seeing more product that depict us in a way that actually speaks to the diversity of our community?
I'm going to go first on that. I'm going to just be straight up. We don't, okay?
I want to work.
No, we don't own the game, and that's just the reality of it. People may say like a lot of movies where they're starring white people or as a quote unquote type of point of view. They're thinking of their stories. They're thinking of their sensibilities. This is what they want to say. Of course, the black life is diverse and it's beyond a variety. But we don't run the game. So if you don't have the distribution outlet or those kind of things to be able to know your movie's going to come out in so many screens, which means you'll get butts and seats and people, the viewership, then it makes it for difficult. Or they even give you the myth that black films don't transport over to the foreign markets, which is nonsense because they wouldn't keep putting a Denzel or a Will Smith or Sam Jackson in movies. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Or Halle Berry right now did a film that's a $15 million movie, and it's done through a company called Troika, and it's getting international distribution through Sony. That I know of because I have something going on with that. So, it's a catch-22, and sometimes from the filmmaker's point of view, a little frustrating at times, or you just got to be nuts like me and just don't give a damn and go forward.
Okay.
That's what it's going to take a little bit. We need the support system of each other.
Exactly.
That needs to be encouraged, and a lot of times we don't get that. A lot of people say they want to do that, but they don't go show up to see somebody in the opera or someone who's going to be doing some little comedy or somebody's doing some play. That
or someone like you, Obba. Like what you're doing here with this show,
absolutely,
is extremely important. We commend you. You've been singing our accolades, but your accolades need to be heralded as well, in that you have taken this opportunity to take full advantage of the new technology that now exists and reach out. This is a wonderful facility. This facility is owned and run by a black businessman. It's in the community. You have come to lend your expertise and bring your cachet with it and put it out there to the viewers who tune in, who you feel deserves to be celebrated. And so it takes all of that.
Yeah. And speaking of iconic, if I'm not mistaken, you were one of the original members of Dreamgirls?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I saw him
Broadway.
in Dreamgirls.
So it's an excellent song and dance. Talk about iconic.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think that's one of the things that I enjoy about Masterpiece Theater and this opportunity. And thank you, gentlemen.
I like the part that it's Masterpiece.
Yes, P-E-A-C.
Which means this. It means there's no stopping. All of us here, we keep going forward, no matter what. We thrust forward, no matter what the odds are. That's just a moment.
I want to dovetail on something Lawrence has said about supporting us. I think what's the movie that Eddie Murphy did with Robin Gibbons, where he played this executive.
Boomerang.
Was it Boomerang? Mm-hmm. You couldn't have presented us in a better light. I mean, executives, well-dressed, great-looking, successful. Mm-hmm. That was what we've been all screaming about. Stop putting on the pimps and the bad guys and the killers. They finally did something that put us up there, and we didn't support that film. I don't think box office did as well.
It did okay, but not as well as
it should have done. Yeah,
you're right.
Every black person on the planet should have gone to see that film.
I'll share something with you. If I can quote, the great Dick Gregory said at one point, he said, many blacks have white racist mentalities because they've been reared by the same kind of people. See, the fact of the matter is that the brain works the same, whether it's in a black head, an Asian head, or a white head, in terms of the way the brain works. It works by association, not by logic. And so if you continue to promote the same kind of information to that brain, then it produces, because it's a computer, right? It stores it, and then it
it emulates.
Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So here we have the circumstance that we must be able to give a methodology. You know, very often what I like to do is say, give a roadmap and say, okay, identify what the issue is. And now let's talk about a means by which we can get beyond the issue, because we know we're very passionate. We're passionate people, and we can spend a lot of time emotionalizing how we feel about an issue. I think sometimes we have to take the time also to identify what is a methodology, just a roadmap, a simple thing that would give one an opportunity in terms, if we talk about supporting, okay, we want to support something. What is the means by which we support it?
Can I just say something on that?
Please.
In supporting, there are examples out there that go all the way back to Oscar Michaud, who are innovators, or Spencer Williams, who people know more as Andy from Amos and Andy, and forget, or don't even know that he was a great filmmaker, writer, producer, and so forth. There are examples right now of films. They'll tell you that a studio will say, we don't want to do movies that's under $25 million and above because that's the audience we're going for. But Think Like a Man was a $6.5 million or $7 million movie. Mm-hmm. It made over $100 million. You call it Jumping the Broom was $6.5 million. I stay on top of it. It made all that money. Tyler Perry's movies, average, whether you like them or not, in terms of their budgets, they don't exceed $20 million in their budget to be made, and they do that kind of business.
That's a great point.
So the bottom line is that if you go check the stats, those things are working. As far as the fanfare and people being very aware of it, that we don't see a lot of, but that's on us as individuals. Word of mouth, we all from New York, man. We come from the hippie era and all that. I know I was in that. Right. You know what now? Word of mouth, man, is where anything happened.
So we're seeing that we're taking the whole concept of social media as a means in terms of technology for promoting our property.
Absolutely.
And I think that we also must, though, include that it must be worthy of supporting, that we should not allow ourselves to be robbed of our ability to have an opinion about something. Because
Absolutely.
If we don't care for it, because, you can get money to produce a lot of things that misrepresent the total. Glenn Turman, for those of you who may not be aware of this, is also, when we talk about icons, the original Travis from the Broadway show, A Raisin in the Sun.
Absolutely.
Okay, the great Lorraine Hansberry. But he worked with another icon, Mr. Sidney Poitier, and one of the things that I bring his name up is because, Lawrence, in a discussion with him at one point, he said those very words in his own way about maintaining a control over the budget so that you can have the ability to then promote the movie and understand of where and how the business of the business is handled. Because I think that's something else, that's a methodology. If just because you own a camera doesn't make you a cameraman.
Of course not.
Just because you have a piano doesn't make you a songwriter or have a desire to do so. That these gentlemen that are here today are iconic and have had careers because they have a craft.
Because there's a method to whatever you might call it, the madness. And you're saying there's a progression, there's a journey to take. And it all happens in steps. Somebody gets a piano, doesn't make him a musician. But if they put the time in and understand what it's about and start to feel it, they become that eventually. And they may even find out they have something special with it. Or like Glynn, is definitely an earmark. Because he was a kid doing Travis on Broadway with Sidney Poitier, Diana Sands, Ruby Dee,
yes.
Lou Gossett. Come on, man. Everybody in that play was like nuts, and Glynn was down there handling it
and
as a kid.
And one of the things that, and I'm not going to speak to this, but one of the things I've heard him say is about the fact that what he would do in the times he wasn't on stage. Talk to us about that when you were in the wings.
Well, I was fascinated because this was something new to me as a youngster. And I was fascinated in watching everyone on stage. And watching the effect in the audience, how everybody was affected by what was being done on stage in this storytelling, these great storytellers on stage telling this wonderful story written by Lorraine Hansberry. So I was really fascinated in terms of the I guess power is the word, is what it really was, but that's not what I was struck by. Mm-hmm. What I was struck by, I guess, boils down to that. But the captivating quality mm-hmm. of performing in front of people and getting people to listen to you. And these were masters, Sidney Poitier. They were masters of getting people to listen.
There's the key word right there. See, they had a craft that afforded them the mastery in order to be able to then get people to pay attention to them.
Absolutely.
You see, and that's something I think that is very important, and I think we lose sight of that. When I talk about a methodology, I'm talking about, I was a young lady, I was in New York, and I was walking down, and a young lady stopped, and she recognized me, and she said some very kind things, and then she asked me, could she take a picture? And I said, of course. Then she said to me, so now tell me, I want to be, a star. How do I go about doing it?
I want to be a star.
That's what she said. I want to be a star. How about doing it? I said, well, I want, you may want to take some classes, and this is one. She says, well, no, I don't want to go through all of that. I just want to be it. She literally said that. Sure. And I think that's why I'm talking, ladies and gentlemen, about these gentlemen that are here today, and the great Michael Schultz and the other members of the community of these filmmakers, that they're not just people that have jobs. Because no matter how great the job is, eventually it will come to an end. And then what? They have found ways to continue to be relevant, recreating themselves, finding a way to advance the artistry of the industry of entertainment. And in doing so, realizing the power that we possess as artists to shape and mold viewpoints and opinions of those around the world.
Can I say something that, over the weekend, I was working on a film at Robert Townsend in Miami. It's not about me promoting the movie. I'm not about that. But a lot of these young people...
Promote the movie.
Promote the movie. It's called Playing for Love, and Robert wrote it and stars it, and Sally Richardson is in it, and Jennifer Lewis. And they said, give Larry something to do. But the same thing that you're saying there, Obba. When I sat down a lot of time in between, a lot of the kids came over because they had never been in a movie before, and this is some new little, sanction they got going on to make these movies at a tight budget down in Miami. So they came over, and I became Father Wisdom to them, but I was totally indulgent. And they just kept asking. I said, what I find a lot, that loses out with young people, or even anybody, like you said, this young lady comes up to you and says, I want to be a star, is that there is a progressional journey that you must take to get there. And just to get the ta-da of it, or let me fax it in, or let me text it in, people think that because we get that splash in our face. But the journey is fun, and you learn as you go along about yourself, your sensibilities with your family, how you raise your children, people like Stephen Williams, who I'm tired of knowing, stuff like that.
Well, the media, our today's media is destroying that kind of work ethic, man.
Right. Spontaneity.
Because nobody's becoming stars now, on our televisions. And I don't want to get into it.
Go for it, man.
Because it's ugly. The reality stuff is ugly.
Yes.
It's just downright ugly. The people who are drunks and whores and blah, 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 making money hand over fist. People are being rewarded for bad behavior. Bad behavior in our media. And that's what's being thrown in the faces of, these younger generations behind us, and they think that's
what it's
cool.
About. They think it's cool.
They think it's normal.
Let me give you a classic example of a true thespian. I'm doing a show right now called House of Lies, and of course it stars the wonderful Don Cheadle, plays my son, who just won the Golden Globe Award for it. Who's
Congratulations, Don.
Actor.
Good brother.
But it's not about him. The story I'm getting ready to tell happened today. As you know, I just came from the set here.
Yes.
But it's happened today. We have as a guest a recurring star on the show, the lovely Nia Long. Who I'm sure has many fans listening. And Nia was late today, something she never is. And so everybody was concerned because she's a pro, takes it seriously, and if she's late, something's wrong. And come to find out, her infant child, and I hope you don't mind me telling this story to everyone, Nia, this flu epidemic is going around, of course, and the baby caught signs of the flu to where it was very, very, very serious and very alarming, to the point where she had to take the baby to the hospital in emergency care, in which they treated it, and things are all right now. But of course, she was in a form of panic, absolute panic, because this is an infant.
Sure.
So having these high temperatures and seizures and so on and so forth. And as she was wondering how to get back to work, her mother had come over to take care of the baby and said, "You go back to work. Don't worry. I've got him, and we know what to do if anything reoccurs." Mm-hmm. And Nia said, "Okay." She finally got her nerves together to say, "Okay, I will leave him with you, Mom, and I'll go in." And she did. But the true thespian said, "I can't wait to get to work because the scene I have with Don today, boy, am I going to give him hell as a result of what I had to go through."
Am I motivated?
I'm motivated to take it out on him when I get that. Just that thought lets you know how a true actor incorporates every element of their life to bring to the stage or the screen in an honest way,
Life experience.
Life experience. Yeah. And that let me know, she's the real deal.
That's all right.
I thank you so much, Riti, for sharing that story, and we wish the baby well, and we salute Nia as well. Yeah, we talk about these things, and ladies and gentlemen listening and watching, it is important that you identify what's going on here, because it is what will provide you with longevity in both your career as well as through your life. Because you see, we don't just identify that, as Glynn just discussed with us, we don't just identify that this career is some sort of little anomaly. It is drawn from real life experiences, and the writers, we want the writers to capture that. We want to be represented like anybody else, not just from the historical standpoint. But you cannot tell about our experience without telling historical content. But I also know that there is a difference between his story and history. There is history, absolutely, and then there is his story, which is someone's idea of what our history is.
Or her story.
Or her story.
Of course.
Right. You know what I mean? So we understand that we need writers. We need to be astute about our history. We need to be able to take the movies like Cooley High, understand that it was a classic because of, and the reason it stands the test of time is because of the quality that is provided both in the writing, the directing, and the acting. As Michael said, he could not have done it without the kind of talent that he had there to bring to fore what was represented.
You know what I'm hearing out here? You're saying it in a real wonderful way. It's about respect. You have to respect the different elements that make something come off. It's the talent.
It's a team effort.
It's a team effort to the max. And we all have to. We play one-up games. We one-up each other complementarily, and for the better. And it's about the project. Like Nia, she had her kid, and that's what's more important than that. But she still went to work, and she got alive, and used her truth, which is what it's about. You got to go with your honesty and brought it through a role. So it's two things. She gets to be a wonderful actress, which she is. And then she gets to almost be her own therapist because she got it out. Yeah. You can't see it, man.
Somebody asked me once. Somebody said to me,
my therapist.
Key word for me is truth. Somebody said to me once, actors, you guys must be great liars. Yeah. And I said, you know what? That's the last thing that an actor does. An actor tries to find the truth in a piece of writing.
Absolutely.
I often say to people, I've been fortunate enough to be able to do a couple of master classes. And it's so funny that Lawrence made reference to this. I remember when I was like GT was the youngest guy on the set as he was as Travis in Raisin in the Sun. And then one day, if you're in the game long enough, you become the elder on the set. Mm-hmm. And you have a responsibility to tell the truth. And what I say is that good acting is but one thing. Looking someone in the eye and telling them the truth with what lines you have. Yeah. Let the story.
I don't want to cut you, but I'm just adding on to it. It's your show, of course.
No, brother.
No, man. It's the most polite show I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, man. No, it really is. You stay there, you tell the truth, and it comes out of your sensibilities. That's where you start.
That's right.
That's what method acting is about. You come out of your reality, and you build on that. That's taking care of a child. That's how you get along in a relationship. Mm-hmm. That's how you go to the grocery store and you balance the bill so I can make it through the week. That's how I don't have the rent, but I got to figure out how to pay the light bill. It's all a through line, and it's a sensibility that we all have that we do when we have to, but a lot of times we forget that in the idea of films because we get dazzled by the tada of it, or that it's in your face. But there's a journey of many collaborators that are all extremely significant, and matter, and they give us this wonderful little pleasure that we call entertainment.
Exactly. That's why I always say to people, stay after the film is completed or the television show goes off if you have the opportunity. Stay for the last 17 minutes of that, because all of those words happen to be people's names, and it took all of that energy, effort, and expertise to be able to bring to fore that which you just got an opportunity to experience. We actors who are in front of the camera try to do the best we can to do our job, but we cannot do it without the support of the technical staff, those who are the DPs and the lighting directors and the writers and all of the people, some people that are unsung that you never get an opportunity. And I also encourage those who are interested in the field of entertainment to don't only think that you have to be an actor or an actress to be in it.
In the business.
You can be an artist at whatever is able and afforded one to bring that project to fore. This, guys, I ladies and gentlemen, I could do an entire show with each of these individuals to bring to fore their own life experience through this. I thank you guys so much.
Thank you, my brother.
For taking the time out of your lives. I thank you so much for your friendship. And I thank you for being standard bearers so that we have someone that our youth, can look to and identify that through a sense of commitment, being stalwart, being entertaining and educating and enlightening and enthusiastic about your life, that you can bring about a success that serves many of the individuals. I want to take a second before we go. And, GT, I want you to tell, because people are listening, about Camp Giddy Up and the work that you do with the youth.
It's 21 years now, right?
Yeah, it is. It's 21 years. Yeah, it's hard to believe. And Camp Giddy Up. I'm so proud of you. This guy over here. Obba. He's sitting there with, for the listening audience, he's sitting, you can't see it, but I know most of the listening audience thinks that the big buckles that became sort of stylish is a fashion statement. But in reality, in a certain world, that's the world of rodeo, it is sort of like a Super Bowl ring. And your host here just won his first Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, come on, man.
This weekend.
He's wearing it on his waist.
He's wearing it on his waist, and as a reiner in the field of reining, and that's what that is making or enabling a horse to run certain patterns to the best of its ability. And you have to be a hell of a horseman in order to do that. And these patterns are judged, and he came out on top and rode away with the buckle. I say that as a lead into Camp Giddy Up, being a rodeo performer myself for some time, and having a small ranch in which we have the opportunity to bring youngsters out to be taught by people like Mr. Babatunde and others. Something that's other than basketball or football or something just a little different, and that is how to handle animals and ride horses. And
how to cowboy.
Rope and so on and so forth.
That's pretty great.
And we've been doing that with these youngsters for the last 21 years or so, and along with my wife, Joanne, who helped me co-found this organization called Camp Giddy Up. And so that's what we've been doing. And all of my friends here have been supporters of it.
Oh, yeah.
And couldn't have done it without them. And it's just been one of the things that I quietly beam about inside.
Yes, yes. Well, you see, that I'm going to speak to this because that's about giving back. Let me change that. You can't give back. You can give. You give. Give is That's an interesting term.
Give forward.
You say these things. Giving is an action that one gives. Glynn gives. We've done together, and Stephen Williams has also been a part of this Camp Cowboys for Kids, where we've gone down to Arizona and we've worked with the youth, and we in different rodeo events, and we take the money that we raise and share it among the other different charities that afford these youth who might be otherwise involved in something that may not be healthy, in terms of understanding that they can do something with their life. You know, I know that Lawrence is a huge. I mean, when you talk about working with kids, if you ever see Lawrence Hilton Jacobs, if there's a child in the room, it's around Lawrence Hilton Jacobs.
I'm the kid macking it.
He loves it, and it speaks to the way that, you know, these men live their lives, ladies and gentlemen, is what I really wanted to say. And I thank you guys each for coming out and supporting the RMC on air and Masterpiece Theater. Thank you again for the work that you do, and for the listening.
Don't forget to mention our American Soul Rodeo, our first American Soul charity rodeo, February 23rd at the City of Industry.
City of Industry, February 23rd. That's here in California. For those of you who are here in California, because since we're heard around the world, we want you to come out and support that, please.
Black cowboys.
You know, black cowboys, cowgirls, and you'll come out and you'll see. Because you see the concept, and I talked about this. We had Reginald Dorsey on the show, and we talked about another cowboy that sometimes people identify it as a pejorative term because it's the word boy. But a cowboy is not just those who deal with horse and livestock. It is a lifestyle. It is the way, and it has to do with honesty, being about your word, a sense of respect, and a manner of commitment.
Some of the best people I know.
Bond.
So I thank the gentleman for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening. Remember, as I always say, in life, as you do anything is how you do everything. So make it an opportunity for you to do it to the very, very best of your ability. You don't have to wait for anybody's permission to be great. Start right now. God bless you, and I'll talk to you soon.
To laugh today.
There you go.
Masterpiece Theater is brought to you by Roscoe's Media Center, sponsored by Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles, the makers of Pitbull Energy Drink. The show is engineered by Poetess, written by Obba Babatunde and Kennedy Goldsby, and produced by Paul Goldsby, executive producer, The Good Herb.